I've been convinced that people are focusing on the wrong things when it comes to building muscle. They obsess over the perfect exercises to do, what supplements to take, the optimal workout routine, when in reality, if they only focused on doing the most basic things and making small changes, they would make significantly more progress. So today I'm going to walk you through everything that I would tell myself 5 years ago if I was just starting in the gym again. Now, you will notice I look nothing like the thumbnail on this video because that is my first point. You can't be shredded and train well to build muscle at the same time. Think about it like you're a farmer. You have to plant your crops and you have to be patient while they grow before you can harvest them. Muscle growth is the exact same. You have to give yourself time to build muscle before you can cut down to show it off to the world. Don't get caught in the trap of trying to be a low body fat percentage all year round because it's not only going to just tank your overall health in general, but your ability to grow muscle as well. Yes, it is nice to look sexy, but just like the farmer trusts his crops are growing underneath the ground, you need to trust that your muscles are growing underneath your body fat and that eventually you will harvest them and you will strip all that body fat away to be lean and muscular as shit. That's why I am not shredded like this, because I'm in a muscle growing phase and I want to give myself the best chance of putting on the most size as possible. Which takes me to the first mistake I made for the longest time. Don't avoid exercises and muscle groups you don't like to train. Yes, the most important thing for muscle growth is that you enjoy your training and that it keeps you showing up for weeks and months and years on end. However, you can't avoid beneficial exercises and muscle groups just because you don't like the feeling of when you're training them. Yes, training the lower part of your body can suck, but you can't ignore training them in hard compound movements like squats or deadlifts because they are some of the best exercises you can do to build muscle. Think of your baseline tolerance for uncomfortability. Yes, these exercises can fucking suck balls sometimes. But by doing hard exercises like these, you raise your baseline so that other exercises feel easier to do. Yes, it sucks sometimes, but I promise you, you will actually start to enjoy it. And when you can squat 100 kilos, there is no better feeling. Not being able to put up with the uncomfortability from these exercises, the same kind of impatience that makes it so that you can't do the right things for a long period of time. Sit in that feeling, accept it's gonna suck for those 2 working sets of that exercise, but know that it is the right thing to do for your long-term progress with muscle growth. But just because you're doing the right things in the gym doesn't mean that you're gonna see progress if you're doing too much of it, which is why you need to be prioritizing rest and recovery. I want you to imagine it's 2024. I'm at 2,000 calories a day, training 6 days a week in the gym, boxing 3 times a week, only sleeping 6 hours a night, and having 1 rest day a week. Do you see the problem there? It's fucking cooked. I may have looked like this, but my energy was nowhere to be found. My muscle growth was out the window because I wasn't giving my body enough time or nutrients to actually rest and recover. Back to the farmer analogy, I was harvesting my crops too early. And once I pulled back on my training, made sure I was fueling my body correctly and prioritizing my sleep and recovery, progress became way fucking easier. So your actionable steps here. When you're in the gym, you have a maximum of 5 days a week that you're allowed to train, partnered with 2 rest days where you do not touch a weight, but you're still hitting your daily 7,000 to 10,000 steps. This allows your body to rest and recover while it's still keeping active and providing all the nutrients that your body needs to properly recover and fuel your muscle growth. Along with this, you want to make sure you're prioritizing your sleep as much as possible. Research shows that people who don't sleep enough, they lose muscle mass as well as gain fat a lot easier. One of the foundational blocks for muscle growth is sleep. There's a video I have coming out soon that explains why sleep is so important for muscle growth and fat loss, but until then, there's a link in the description that goes through all the ways that you could improve your sleep without me just being a dickhead and saying, just sleep more. Rule of thumb, if you're getting anywhere from 7 to 9 hours of sleep, that's pretty good for muscle growth. And some of the easiest changes you could make to improve your sleep now is 10 hours before bed, have no caffeine. 3 hours before bed, have your last meal for the night. 2 hours before bed, stop drinking water so you don't have to get up and piss. And 1 hour before bed, turn off all the overhead lights. Don't be like me and neglect your sleep, especially if you're younger, because the habits that you have with your sleep routine, they can positively affect literally every single aspect of your life. So the earlier you get them down into having a bulletproof routine, the more you can reap those benefits. The next thing that a lot of people are making the mistake of is not having a structured training program. There's 2 essential parts you need for muscle growth: progressive overload and how often you train. The easiest way to not make progress is to not track your progress. Get a gym journal or use apps on your phone to track your workouts. How heavy the weight was that you used, how many sets you did for an exercise, and how many reps you did in those sets. And the biggest mistake I see people doing that makes no sense to me is not having having a specific rep range for an exercise that they're doing. Imagine you're doing a lat pull down. You'll stick to a rep range of 10 to 12 reps for 3 sets. When you hit 12 reps on that last set, you're then going to increase the weight by the smallest amount possible. And because you've added more weight, you've progressed more, which means it's progressive overload. Progressive overload is simply doing more than last time. That could be one more rep than last week. It could be doing more sets than the week before. It's any kind of small change that shows you're improving and your muscles are getting bigger. Progressive overload could be as little as the last rep of a set was easier than last week. And to make sure that we keep progressing, we need to train a muscle group twice a week. Imagine a switch. Every time you lift weights, it turns the switch on and it tells your body to grow muscle. This switch stays on roughly for 24 to 48 hours before it turns off and tells your body to stop growing muscle. So if you're doing something like an Arnold or a bro split, you're not keeping this muscle growing switch on, which means you're not growing the most amount of muscle that you could be. By training a muscle group twice a week, we can keep this switch on and we can keep building muscle. If you need more help with this, there's a training program in the description where you still hit all your muscle groups twice a week, but it's only 3 days. So make sure you check that out if you need more help. Because once you have a training program, you need to start being patient and stop changing exercises. The mistake I see every newbie make in the gym is constantly changing exercises week to week. Constantly swapping and switching, you'll never learn how to properly do an exercise, how to properly do it with good technique, how hard you can actually push yourself on it, and as a product of that, you will never see long-term progress with it. Each exercise in the gym is a skill that you need to learn, and you need to give yourself time to master it. When I make programs for my clients, we look at 6 to 8 week training blocks. Imagine the first 1 to 2 weeks are a calibrating phase, where you learn how to properly do an exercise and you find a good working weight to use. Then you have 4 to 6 weeks plus to go as hard as possible and track all the progress that you're making to make sure you improve. If you can't be patient and stay on the same exercise to see if you're getting better at it, how do you expect to know if you're actually building muscle? Give yourself time to learn, improve, and max out on an exercise in the gym. But like everyone says, your muscles aren't just made in the gym, they're also made in the kitchen. So let me take you to the final step that I would use to improve your muscle growth: the foods that you eat. You've been convinced online that you have to eat big to get big. Every bodybuilder on the planet did it and it worked for them, but I want you to think about it like a house. The house is your body. The bricks and timbers are the calories and protein you need to grow muscle, while the builders are the cells in your body making your muscles bigger. If you don't get enough materials to build the house, it's going to slow down how fast it gets built, which is why it's important for you to not lose fat and gain muscle at the same time. There is a small caveat to that, because if you look like this, something called skinny fat, you can do both of them at the same time. There's a link in the description if you're trying to get rid of this look, where I'll walk you through your calories and a training program, so check that out. Where was I? Not enough material slows down how fast the house can get built. But the builders building the house, they can only go so fast. So if you give them too many bricks and too much timber, it's all going to be scattered around, stored on the job site, taking up space. Your body can only build muscle at a certain speed. So once you give it enough calories and protein to train well and recover after, all the extra leftovers will get stored as body fat. When it comes to your muscle growth, you don't need to be eating any more than 2 to 2.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. For me, that would be anywhere from 140 to 170 grams per day. Then we only need to be eating at a maximum of 300 calories over our maintenance. If you can do that, you're going to properly fuel your body so that you can train hard and you can recover well to build the most amount of muscle. One small change I would include is make sure that you're eating what we would call simple carbs before you go and train. These are carbs that your body can digest quickly and give you a quick boost of energy. Things like cereal, bananas, white rice, honey, bread. Eat these 30 to 60 minutes before you go and train so that you can lift those really heavy circles. If I was to go back in time to 2022, that is everything I would tell this chubby Chinese child so that he could make the most out of his training and muscle growth. If you're getting an extra rep every week in the gym, or you're going up in weight, you're sleeping better, you're getting excited at the thought of being able to go into the gym and just fling around heavy circles, you're going to make progress. You don't have to hyper obsess over the perfect exercise, perfect rest periods, because long-term progress comes from doing the things that you enjoy. If you're looking for more ways to grow muscle, I'll help people just like you in the coaching cohort with training programs and personalized meal plans so that we can make their muscle growth as easy as possible. The link to work together is in the description below, and all the free stuff that I mentioned throughout the video is there as well, so make sure you check that out. But now that you know the right things that you can do to improve your muscle growth, you now need to know the best ways to improve your fat loss. So to understand the best ways to make your fat loss easier, this video will walk you through all the ways that you can do that.